Hello there, wrestling fans. Brian Whitaker here with SICW promoter Herb Simmons, and here we are back, Herb, for another weekly edition of SICW.
Well, as promised, this is your weekly edition of SICW. We want to bring you all the latest and greatest information on what SICW has got planned over the next weeks and months coming. But we also, this program takes you back in time, and that's what we've been doing. We started off last week with a look back at the late, great Sam Muchnick, promoter of the NWA for 41 years. He was a president of that organization. But before it even went on television in 1959, he was running shows in St. Louis. And that's kind of what we're wanting to do is relive those memories of what wrestling in St. Louis was all about. Wrestling at Kiel Auditorium, wrestling at the old Checkerdome, or the arena as people called it. As we said, wrestling started in 1959 on television, ran under the guidance of Sam Muchnick up until about 1983, and all the greats came through St. Louis and was a part of that television program. And then also every match at the Kiel Auditorium was a main event for a bunch of them.
Absolutely.
And tonight we're going to take you back in time to another one of those all-time greats, one of my favorites back in the day, and I'm sure many of you will remember Johnny Valentine. We're going to go back and take a look at some of his matches, some clips of his matches, going all the way back to 1969. So let's see what we got.
Let's take a look. This first match here, we'll have Crusher versus Johnny Valentine.
Wow, I'll tell you what, I surely didn't want to be his opponent there. You could tell Johnny Valentine was really wanting to get his hands on the Crusher Lasowski back then. What a feud those two men had for several different matches back in the day. That was actually from 1960, Johnny Valentine against the Crusher. And Brian, as you can see, Johnny Valentine was really fired up. He was wanting to get his hands on the Crusher.
And then once he did, he made short work of him.
Yeah, his opponent was, I didn't want his opponent to be, I wouldn't want to have been his opponent in that match there. Lasowski got counted out in impromptu match, and the substitute they put in there, that wasn't a good thing. But that's the type of guy Johnny Valentine was. He was full of vim and vigor, and he was a powerhouse. Those who fought him back in the day, like Fritz von Erich, Gene Kaniski, people like that, all would tell you he was the real deal when he was in that ring. Let's take a look at 1969 when Johnny Valentine took on another wild guy in Bull Curry.
10 seconds left in this rest period. The Bull Curry's ready to go, whether Valentine's ready to go is doubtful. 2, 1, and there is the bell as Curry moves in and blasts away. And here he is continuing that same furious pace. Keeping on Valentine, and this crowd is going crazy with the blood splattering all over. Here is all over me as Valentine catches those blows, and Dick Raines is trying to interfere, but he is not having any luck. There goes Curry now, determined to follow Valentine right smack out of the. Get back. We're trying to keep people here from injuring themselves by getting involved in this here, but Curry is determined that he is going to keep after Valentine and pound him. Dick Raines is tolling the count up in that ring. As Bull gets after him, chair in hand now, but the police got the chair out of the way, but he is after Valentine just the same. Spilling around here now to the opposite side. Both men have been counted outside the ring as they drive it home and drive us out of our chair area. Valentine bleeding tremendously, blasted loose, and Curry.
Both men have been counted out of the ring on a 20 count.
Danny McShane is trying to separate them. And now it's Dick Raines trying to separate them, and Bull Curry letting fly impartially with those driving blows of his on McShane and Dick Raines with the seconds moving in, and we've got everything busting loose here as Raines catches it, and there goes Valentine being grabbed by the police and snatched up the aisle, and Curry himself roaring in all directions. as he moves first out into the crowd, then back into the ring. And listen to this tremendous roar of applause given to Bull Curry. The match has ended with both men being counted outside the ring. It was a draw, but draw or no, these people saw Johnny Valentine get the most tremendous battering of his life. And this is what look at this boy Bull. Look at these fans around this ring. Listen to this tremendous clattering uproar as everybody roars their approval of Curry. Curry shouting to bring him back and I'll murder the bum. Racing from one side to another. And Bull Curry here now, he looks to me like he doesn't quite understand what has happened, but it has happened. And we tell you this, that as Bull Curry gets that approval from the fans, we'll be back here again. Wait, we'll stay right here. Put him in there without a referee. Bull Curry thinks the referee has interfered with him. Bull Curry is the guy making the noise here, and he says, put him in there without, he wanted this match without a referee. We'll be back here again after we have this word.
We might tell you that that match you saw between Bull Curry and John Valentine is really a classic. It's one of those that we have saved because we realize that it had a significance. Both these men are no longer in wrestling, but both of them have left a mark on wrestling that is purely indelible, something that has everything that wrestling should have. Been nice to have you with us in our program, and we just want to say to you, so long, everybody.
Wow, what another wild one there. Johnny Valentine and Wild Bull Curry, legendary promoter Paul Bosch. Anytime Johnny Valentine was in a match anywhere in the country, anywhere around the world, most of them ended up being a brawl. I mean, it's just an all-out, outside the ring. He always got his point over with his opponent.
I tell you what, the ring could not contain them, and nor could the referee. The referee even took a couple good licks there.
Well, that's what happened when Johnny Valentine, I remember when he used to come to St. Louis, always a crowd favorite in St. Louis, and he'd come out from behind the curtain at Kiel Auditorium with his long red robe on and walk down to that ring with that blonde hair and get in there and put his hands on his hips and do a 360 to a standing ovation for 5 minutes at a time. That's always the way it was with Johnny Valentine. Let's take back to 1970 with a little clip from two greats, Johnny Valentine, and of course, the all-time great, Lou Thesz.
World Heavyweight Champion Lou Thesz shaking hands with Johnny Valentine. Valentine has held the U.S. Heavyweight Championship, the Southern Heavyweight Championship, one-time co-holder of the World Tag Team Championship. And note the caution that both of these men exercise toward each other. Each respects the other for his ability. Thesz, campaigning now in the United States, had an extensive tour of the Orient before returning to professional wrestling. He really never left it. He was in semi-retirement. Obviously in tremendous physical condition. On a strict regimen now. Notice Valentine trying to cross that arm across the throat, and Thesz, fighting fire with fire, catches him with a short forearm smash. The referee warning him, and Thesz explaining his purpose behind it, obviously. Again, Valentine moving in. Valentine, an awesome wrestler. Enjoys inflicting punishment on his opponents. And the more you hurt Valentine, the more he seems to fight back. Again, collar and elbow. And again, watch Valentine coming across the throat of Lou Thesz, trying to cut off that oxygen supply. Both men seeking balance, and it's Valentine. A single leg dive. Thesz in that four-point stance, able to break free as Valentine could not maintain the ride. And Thesz again using that forearm smash. It drops Johnny Valentine to the canvas. This, of course, an extremely controversial match. A controversial and disputed pinfall, as we will see in just a moment or two. All right, Thesz bent back over those ropes by Johnny Valentine. And watch Valentine, one of those big sledgehammers across the chest. That stuns Thesz. Again, Thesz caught with that sledgehammer, but he fires back. Two good forearm smashes, a third, and Johnny Valentine rocked backwards now. Caught in a side headlock. Thesz caught in the head. Valentine moving up, and so is Lou Thesz. Both men, excellent recuperative powers. Thez hooking that arm. Now watch Lou Thez. He'll start a softening up process here on Johnny Valentine, and in just a moment we're going to see that disputed pinfall. And I might just point out, although it was a disputed pinfall, Lou Thez says he wants Johnny Valentine anytime, anywhere. There you have the disputed pinfall, and the referee did not see it. Consequently, the winner of this match is Johnny Valentine.
Wow, you could tell those two really had a lot of respect for one another. Lou Thez against Johnny Valentine. What a classic match that was. They met on several occasions in each of those matches. Both of them had respect for one another. You could tell how they were moving around that ring, was kind of just trying the other one out. But usually those were 2 out of 3 fall matches, and you could see right there they were wanting to test each other. You know, Lou Thez, one of the all-time greats, really working with Johnny Valentine right there. Let's go to 1974 and see Johnny Valentine in action against the Chief himself, Wahoo McDaniels.
Hey, how about that? Johnny Valentine coming into the ring right now against Wahoo McDaniel. They're not supposed to wrestle. Angelo Martinelli looking on. Boy, they don't like each other. Ooh. Don't forget, Wahoo just finished one tough fight, and now he's in another tough fight with Johnny Valentine. There's Valentine here. What he said to Martinelli, just get out of the way. I've never seen a grudge match like this. Well, Wahoo is still ready to go.
Of course, by 1974, Wahoo McDaniels knew the reputation of Johnny Valentine, and he wasn't going to cut him short. I'll tell you, they had great matches also throughout the 70s. Wahoo McDaniels with those vicious chops and tomahawks, and Johnny Valentine coming back with them, and with that brain buster, they would fight in and outside the ring, just like so many of the opponents Johnny Valentine had throughout his career. Had a long, long career. Was always a crowd favorite in St. Louis, and wherever he went, he could fight, he could brawl, he could do whatever he wanted to in that ring, and that was just a little bit of what Johnny Valentine meant back in St. Louis when he was wrestling. And as far as that goes, wherever it was for Paul Bosch or wherever he would show up at, when he came in, you knew he was going to sell out arenas all over the country. Johnny Valentine, one of the greatest of all times, and that's just a little bit of action from somebody like a Johnny Valentine. And that brings us forward, Brian. We're going to be talking about what's going to happen on March the 16th in East Grand Rapids, Illinois. If you want to see some of that kind of action, you got to join us on Saturday night, March the 16th.
Absolutely. March 16th is going to be a tremendous night down in East Carondelet. Great to have everybody back in the building.
Exactly. Saturday night, March 16th. You know, we talked last Sunday night, about the big main event already signed, the title on the line. Superstar Steve Fender puts that title on the line against the popular high-flying Billy McNeil. And, of course, as we told you last week, superstar Steve Fender, trained by Harley Race. He'll have his manager in the corner, of course. You may not like him, but you got to deal with him. I got to deal with him. We're talking about Travis Cook will be at ringside. And, of course, high-flying Billy McNeil, this is his shot. You know, he's been on a winning streak here lately. That's one you got to come and see, the main event. But signed also the second main event we're going to talk about here tonight, a tag team title. The guy that everybody loves, the King of Chaos, Ricky Cruz.
Absolutely. And
his partner, Gil Rogers, teaming up for the first time to take on the monster team of Kowalski and Attila Khan. And we're going to see that as our second main event on Saturday night, March the 16th. Let's take a look at what's going to happen with these four men hook up on Saturday night.
First part of the tag team, Ricky Cruz and Gil Rogers. What a dynamic pair.
These two guys, they're going to team up for the first time, as you can see. They're going to mix together. Their styles are the same. Ricky Cruz gets in there, he can fight, brawl, he can do whatever he has to do. Also, Gil Rogers is going to be, it's going to be a great team together for the first time.
Two very professional wrestlers, but they're going to have their hands full.
They're going to have their hands full because, all the speed and all the knowledge that these two men, Ricky Cruz and Gil Rogers, has. They got to go up against the brawn of Kowalski and the man himself, Killer Telekan. Let's take a look at them in action here. You'll see Kowalski takes no prisoners. He does anything. He knows what he's got to do to win a match. And, of course, we know what a Telekan is all about. It's about, whatever he's got to do to win a match. So Saturday night, March the 16th, when you see a Telekan and Kowalski tag up to go against Gil Rogers and Ricky Cruz, that's a main event in itself. Two big main events on Saturday night, March the 16th.
It's going to be an incredible night of wrestling. You showcased the main event last week. Now this match, I don't know what more excitement you could put out there to bring the fans down to East Carondelet to see these great matches. But there's more coming up in March.
Yes, going to be more coming back up if you can't make Saturday night, March 16th, which we hope you can, because it's going to be a great night. But on Saturday night, March the 30th, in Millstadt, Illinois, at the St. James Parish Center, we're coming back to help the Millstadt Athletic Club with their annual fundraiser. And we got a cage match signed up there. And, of course, those two, Kowalski, 444 pounds of just pure meanness, gets locked inside of a cage against the King of Chaos, Ricky Cruz. For those of you who follow SICW, last year in Millstadt, Illinois, these two locked up, and they were all over the St. James Parish Center gymnasium. They was from one end to the other. They fought back to the dressing room. So this year, they're going to be locked inside of that steel cage. And the caveat to that match, there's got to be a winner. So when that door locks on Saturday night, March the 30th at the St. James Parish Center, either Ricky Cruz is going to walk out of there with his hands up or Kowalski's going to.
Do you think the cage will contain them? Those are two big boys that definitely could bring down the house.
Well, as I said, Kowalski's been around a long time, and I mean he brawls. He can get out there and wrestle. We've seen him do some drop kick. He reminds me of that legend Jerry Blackwell. Jerry the Crusher Blackwell was a big man, and he could get up on the rope and jump off of it. He could deliver drop kicks. Kowalski's the same way. And it's a shame that sometimes he wants to bend the rules, but I guess he feels he has to do that. On the other hand, you take a guy like Ricky Cruz, who has been all around the world, been to Puerto Rico, been to Japan, he's been everywhere, and he can come back. He delivers some of those chops. He can do the drop kicks himself. But the thing about Ricky Cruz is he'll say, if you want to wrestle, I'll wrestle you. If you want to fight, we're going to fight. And that's why when I signed the match for Saturday night, March the 30th, I reminded him what happened last year. And he said, I chased him all around the St. James Parish Center. He said, put us in a cage. So that's what we're going to do. Those tickets are on sale at the Millstadt Village Hall. You can go by there and get them. The fine folks of Millstadt are looking forward to another great fundraiser. This is our 4th or 5th year we've went in there and helped them out. And we are just honored that they've asked us to come back again this year. Mayor Mike Todd and his crew of fine people up there that help put that together. Everybody that helps run the concession stand, helps set the chairs up. Just a great group of people there in Millstadt, Illinois. And that's going to be at the St. James Parish Center Saturday night, March the 30th.
Absolutely. So, Herb, it's been a great night talking about professional wrestling, the old school wrestling, Johnny Valentine, what to expect at SICW. Let's see what some of the fans have said. Thomas Vanderwide says Valentine was one of his favorites behind Bruiser Brody.
Well, I mean, it's a shame that Bruiser's not with us still. If Bruiser Brody was, he'd be sitting here with us on some of these Sunday nights. Because for those of you who's been following SICW for all these years, he always enjoyed what we were doing, trying to build on that foundation of what Sam Muchnick and Larry Matisek had done for all those years. And Bruiser Brody was a part of that when he started working for me back in the 70s and 80s up until his untimely death.
Absolutely. Kimberly Dunham says hello. Ken Easterly, one of the fans, likes to come out and watch, says, "Hi, Herb."
Appreciate it, Kenny. You're right, Kenny. Shooter comes to some of the matches, and it's always a great time. He was there the night that we had a cage match and an 8-man tag match. He talks about that all the time.
That was a heck of a cage match. The ambassador of SICW, Sean Vincent's on here and says, "You have taken SICW live to a whole new level."
Well, and it's because of the guys in the locker room. Our Canadian hero, Sean Vincent, our ambassador for SICW, goes above and beyond. Our locker room is next to none. In professional wrestling, you have guys who go out and go the extra mile, and Sean is one of them. But we have such a great group of men in that locker room that the fans love. And, Keith Smith Jr., Keith Smith, Ricky Cruz, Flash Flanagan, people like that go out there and, we talk about Flash and the bounty that Travis Cook has put on him. That's going to have to come to a head sooner or later. And I'm sure on Saturday night, March 16th, Flash Flanagan will have a lot to say about that. But we are raising the bar a little bit. We're wanting to keep that history and the legacy of wrestling alive as a lot of us remember it. A lot of the fans, when I'm out, say, man, we wish Dick the Bruiser was still with us, or Bruiser Brody, or Luthez. Well, unfortunately, they're not. But hopefully through what we're doing with this weekly show, your weekly show, we're just kind of putting it together with what we have, the material, but with you taking the time to watch us and tell us what you want to see. Tell us who your favorite was, and we'll put it together. We've got a lot of material. We got a lot of videos. So I've got a little knowledge left of some of these guys that I've got to meet over the years, and I met Johnny Valentine twice. Years ago, I thought he was the greatest. That's why he was one of my favorites. But so many of them that came through St. Louis that we know. And as we move through this year, we're going to be having a few of those guys come back in. June 29th in Belleville at the Belclair Fairgrounds, the Baron von Raschke will be rejoining us. All the way into September 7th, I think it is, Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man's coming in. May 25th, Barbara Goodish coming in for the Bruiser Brody Memorial, along with Killer Tim Brooks and at the Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin. So SICW is keeping that tradition alive, not only with the help of our locker room, guys like Sean, Flash Flanagan, the Big Texan, Bobby D, and the list goes on, but the legends that are still with us, anytime we can get them in, we're going to do that. I do want to give a shout out. We got some information yesterday that our good friend Harley Race is underneath the weather. We wish him a speedy recovery. That's a guy. In fact, just before we went on the air tonight, our good friend Jerry Briscoe called wanting to get an update on Harley. Good friends Harley and Jerry. But Harley, I'm sure you'll hear about this program. But we wish you well, a speedy recovery. And as Jerry said, to tell you, it's a 2 count and just kick out like you've done for many, many years.
Absolutely. So we talked about this gentleman a lot, but he's on here with us. Ricky Cruz is on tonight.
Ricky Cruz, as I said, another one of those gentlemen in the locker room that adds a lot of class. The fans love him. When you look at the main event on Saturday night, March the 16th, Superstar Steve Fender, trained by Harley Race. This guy is the ever-ready bunny. He can take a licking and keep on ticking. But when you got a guy like Billy McNeil, who's on a winning streak, he's had some success.
Taking out some of your best talent in SICW.
Billy McNeil can real easily walk out of that East Grand Lake Community Center on Saturday night, March the 16th, with that SICW title. And be our new champion. I don't think Steve Fender is going to go away quickly. That's going to be a great match, I'm telling you. All the matches are. Then you look at that second main event. I mean, every match that night is going to be a main event. And we're going to tell you next week more about the entire card for Saturday night, March 16th, and a few more matches that's being added to the Millstadt card on Saturday night, March 30th. So we've got a lot going on. Of course, we're building up everything to the May 25th big card of the Bruiser Brody and Larry Matisek Memorial. We'll have that big Bruiser Brody Memorial tournament. See if none other than Curtis Wilde can.
I hope
that's
somebody
your
else
friend.
gets it to carry it around for
So
a year.
we try not
I've
to,
had enough of the tour of Curtis Wilde.
yeah, we try not to talk much about Curtis Wilde, but yes, he does have the Bruiser Brody Trophy Cup, and yes, he'll be one of the men in the Battle Royal this year, and we'll see if somebody else can take that on tour, as he claims he has. But that's where we are tonight. Like I said, we want to continue these weekly updates every Sunday at 8 p.m. It's kind of the time that we feel that is best for us, and then hopefully our followers, our fans, are unwinding from the weekend, and it gives you a little bit of time to reflect back on what wrestling was like in St. Louis or wherever you may be from. These guys weren't just from St. Louis. So like I said, Johnny Valentine wrestled all over the world. We enjoyed him in St. Louis just as much as you enjoyed him wherever you saw him at. Next week, I think we're going to take a look back at another individual that was really popular in St. Louis, Pat O'Connor. Pat O'Connor was another favorite in St. Louis. Nobody delivered a right cross like he did in the ring. We'll have some footage of what Pat O'Connor meant to wrestling in St. Louis with some of the people that he met. And each week we're going to showcase one of those legends that you should all be familiar with here on your SICW Weekly Update. And I say it's yours because without you, there is no SICW, and there is no wrestling continuing the way you knew it. So until next Sunday night at 8 p.m., I'm Herb Simmons along with Brian Whitaker. Drew Ebenhouse is still doing some research because he gets to do a lot of work as we're getting up closer to those shows. And this month we got 2 shows, so he's doing extra duties. But he will be joining us one Sunday evening, as well as some other special guests that we're going to be having coming in. So until next Sunday night at 8 p.m., we'll see you then.